They tell you to watch out for the young party girls. They tell you the 20s are the most dangerous years for a relationship because she is young, wild, and surrounded by temptation. That is the biggest lie society has ever sold you. The absolute most dangerous time in your relationship, the exact moment when the ground beneath your feet becomes a total minefield, is not when she is 25. It is when she blows out the candles on her 35th birthday. You think because you have been together for 10 years, you are completely safe. You think because you bought the house, had the kids, and settled into a nice, quiet routine, the wild years are over. You are completely wrong. Right now, there is a silent epidemic destroying millions of good, hardworking men. Women in their 30s and 40s are stepping out on loyal men at a rate that would absolutely terrify you if you saw the real numbers. Today, we are ripping the blindfold off. We are going to dive deep into the dark, hidden psychology of the midlife betrayal. I am going to give you the exact 13 reasons why a woman who has been loyal to you for a decade will suddenly turn into a complete stranger in her 30s and 40s. If you do not learn these 13 silent triggers, you will be blindsided. You will wake up one morning at 40 years old, look around your empty house, and realize that your entire life was just pulled out from under you while you were busy paying the bills. But before we unlock these dark truths, I need to talk directly to the men who are wide awake. Brothers, if you're watching right now, I need a small favor. My ex said I wouldn't even reach 100k subscribers. I need you to help me prove her wrong. Please hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment right now. Let's show her what men can do when we stand shoulder to shoulder and refuse to be silenced by the lies of the modern world. Let us get straight into the harsh reality. The first reason she will betray you in her 30s and 40s is the terrifying realization of fading youth. When a woman is in her 20s, male attention is totally free. She walks into a room and every head turns. She gets free drinks, endless messages on her phone, and constant validation. But when she hits her mid-30s, nature starts taking its toll. She looks in the mirror and sees the tiny wrinkles forming around her eyes. She realizes the massive, unlimited power she had at 22 is slowly slipping away. This creates a massive internal panic. She desperately needs to know if she still has it. She needs to know if she can still pull a handsome stranger. So, she tests the waters. She crosses the line with a coworker or a guy at the gym, not because she hates you, but because she is using another man's lust as a mirror to prove to herself that she is still young and desirable. The second reason is the poison of the safe harbor illusion. You spent your 20s and early 30s working yourself to the bone. You built a career, you bought a reliable car, you secured the mortgage. You became the ultimate safe harbor. You thought this was exactly what she wanted. But human biology is a very dark thing. Absolute safety creates absolute boredom. When she was young, she wanted the bad boy for excitement. Then she chose you for safety. But after 10 years of perfect, predictable safety, her primal brain starts craving the storm again. She knows exactly what time you come home. She knows exactly what you are going to say. The mystery is totally dead. And because she knows you are a nice guy who will never leave her, she feels completely safe taking a massive risk behind your back just to feel a rush of adrenaline again. This brings us to the third reason, which is the influence of the divorced friend group. This is the silent killer of marriages. In her 20s, all her friends were getting married and having babies. But in her late 30s, the first wave of divorces hits her friend group. Suddenly, her best friend is single again, going out to clubs, downloading dating apps, and talking about all the new men she is meeting. Misery loves company, and a toxic, divorced woman absolutely hates seeing her friend in a stable, happy relationship. Her single friends will start whispering poison into her ear. They will tell her she is missing out. They will tell her you are boring. They will drag her out to the bar for girls' night and actively push her into the arms of other men just so they do not have to be alone in their bad choices. Let me tell you a real story about a man who lost his entire life to this exact trap. We will call him Mark. Mark was a great provider. He was married for 12 years. His wife, Sarah, turned 38. Her two best friends had just gone through nasty divorces. Suddenly, Sarah was going out every single Friday night with these single women. Mark did not want to be a controlling husband. He thought he was being a good guy by giving her space. He would stay home with the kids and tell her to have fun. He noticed she started dressing completely differently. She bought clothes that belonged on a 20-year-old. She started locking her phone. She started picking random fights with Mark on Saturday mornings, calling him lazy and boring, even though he worked 60 hours a week. One night, Mark's intuition kicked in. He checked her car location on their shared family app. She was not at the restaurant with her friends. She was parked at a hotel across town. When Mark drove there and confronted her, she did not even apologize. She looked at him with cold eyes and repeated the exact toxic phrases her divorced friends used. She said she needed to find herself, and that she deserved to feel alive again. Mark lost his home, his daily access to his kids, and half his hard-earned pension, all because he allowed the poison of single, miserable friends to enter his quiet house. Mark is the loser in this dynamic because he confused being a pushover with being a good husband. When he saw the toxic friends entering her life, he should have set a boundary of solid iron. Instead, he handed her the keys to her own destruction. The fourth reason the betrayal happens later in life is the deadly "I deserve it" entitlement phase. For the first 10 years of your relationship, she played the role of the good wife and mother. She changed the diapers, she cooked the meals, she did the laundry. But as the kids get a little older and need her less, a massive shift happens in her mind. Society and social media start telling her a terrible lie. They tell her she sacrificed her best years for her family. They convince her that she gave up her dreams for you. She starts to build up a silent, heavy resentment. She genuinely starts to believe that because she played the good girl for a decade, she has earned a free pass to do something completely selfish. She cheats because she feels entitled to a secret reward for her years of service. Reason number 5 is the sudden explosion of financial independence. When you first met, maybe you made all the money. You provided the security. But in her 30s and 40s, many women reach the peak of their own careers. They get the big promotions. They start making their own heavy money. This changes the entire power dynamic of the relationship. When a woman is financially dependent on a man, her survival instinct keeps her loyal. She cannot afford to break the home. But the exact moment she realizes she can pay her own rent, buy her own car, and survive entirely without your wallet, her fear of consequence drops to zero. She no longer looks at you as a necessity. You become an option. And when a man becomes an option, his respect level hits the floor, making it incredibly easy for her to look sideways at a man who makes more money or has higher status than you. The sixth reason is the ticking of the biological clock, but not the way you think. It is not about having babies. It is about the closing of the window of youth. When a woman turns 40, she sees the door to her youth slowly shutting. She knows she only has a few good years left where she can still attract high-level men using just her physical looks. This creates a deeply primal, frantic energy. It is like a person running through a grocery store 5 minutes before it closes, grabbing whatever they can off the shelves. She wants one last massive thrill, one last chaotic, passionate romance before she has to accept growing older. Let us look at reason number 7. the flip of the dead bedroom. Men are told that their drive peaks in their 20s. But for many women, their physical desires peak in their late 30s and early 40s. Their hormones shift. Meanwhile, you are working yourself to death, dealing with massive stress, trying to pay a mortgage, and maybe your energy is lower than it used to be. If you are too tired to handle her new spike in energy, she will absolutely not just sit quietly and accept it. She will look for a younger man, a guy in his 20s or early 30s who has endless energy and zero responsibilities, to fill that sudden void. Reason number 8 is the weaponization of past grievances. Women have an emotional memory that works like a steel trap. She remembers a mistake you made 8 years ago. Maybe you were talking to a female coworker too much back then. Maybe you were emotionally distant when she was pregnant. You thought you both moved past it. You thought she forgave you. She did not forgive you. She just stored that anger in a dark box in the back of her mind. When she hits her 40s and wants an excuse to betray you, she opens that box. She brings up an argument from a decade ago to completely justify her current actions. She tells herself, "He hurt me back then, so I am just balancing the scales. We are even now." It is pure, calculated revenge disguised as an accident. Reason number 9 is the illusion of emotional starvation. In a long-term marriage, conversations change. You talk about bills, grocery lists, kids' school projects, and fixing the roof. The deep, romantic, late-night talks you had when you were 20 fade away into the reality of running a household. She starts to feel like a roommate instead of a lover. Then, a guy at her office starts asking her deep questions about her feelings. He listens to her complain about you. He acts like he cares about her soul. He is not doing this because he cares. He is doing it because it is the easiest key to unlock the door. But she falls for the illusion. She convinces herself she is not cheating physically, she is just finding an emotional connection. And we all know exactly where emotional connections end up. They end up in the back seat of a car or a cheap motel room. This brings us to a story of a man who saw this exact trap forming, recognized the dark pattern, and chose to save his own life instead of playing the fool. This is the story of a true winner. We will call him Richard. Richard was 42 years old. He had been married to his wife, Jessica, for 14 years. He worked hard as a regional manager, providing a beautiful life for his family. When Jessica turned 40, Richard noticed a massive, overnight change in her behavior. She suddenly joined an expensive, trendy gym. She started spending thousands of dollars on new clothes that she never wore around him. She was constantly texting, smiling at her phone, and quickly turning the screen face down the second Richard walked into the kitchen. Richard did not panic. He did not cry. He did not ask her 50 questions like a weak, insecure boy. He was a high-value man who trusted his cold logic, not his warm emotions. One evening, Jessica told Richard she had to go on an overnight business trip for her marketing job. Richard knew she was lying. Her job never required overnight travel. Richard did not argue. He calmly helped her pack her bag and kissed her on the cheek. But the second she drove away, Richard went to work. He logged into their shared phone provider account and looked at the call logs. He saw thousands of texts to a single number over the last month. He searched the number. It belonged to her personal trainer at the new gym. Richard did not drive to the hotel to catch them. He did not scream or punch walls. He spent that entire weekend executing a flawless exit strategy. He moved half the liquid cash to a private account. He called the best divorce lawyer in the city and paid the retainer. He packed all of her expensive new clothes, her shoes, and her jewelry into black garbage bags and put them perfectly neatly on the front porch. Then he changed the locks on the front door of the house he paid for. When Jessica came home on Sunday afternoon, glowing from her secret weekend, her key did not work. She saw the black bags. She panicked and called Richard. Richard answered the phone. His voice was completely flat, cold, and empty. He said, "Your gym membership has been permanently relocated to the front porch. The lawyer will contact you on Monday. Do not ever step foot on my property again." Then he hung up and blocked her number. Jessica went completely crazy. She banged on the door, she cried, she begged, she swore it was a mistake. But Richard put on his headphones and listened to an audiobook. He removed his attention completely. Richard is the ultimate winner. He suffered the heavy pain of betrayal, but he did not lose a single ounce of his masculine dignity. He did not let her use her midlife crisis to manipulate him. He caught the disrespect immediately, shut the door, and walked away into a new life. Within 2 years, Richard had doubled his income, got in the best shape of his life, and was dating a highly loyal, younger woman who respected his iron boundaries. He won because he knew his worth. Let us move to reason number 10. The midlife makeover effect. When a woman in her late 30s decides to completely change her physical appearance, it is almost always a massive red flag. She loses 30 pounds. She gets cosmetic work done. She changes her hair color. You think she is doing it for you. You think she just wants to look good for her husband. You are wrong. She is preparing herself for the open market. When she completes that physical transformation, she looks in the mirror and thinks, "I look amazing. Why am I wasting this new body on the same old boring husband?" The physical upgrade almost always leads directly to a completely new sense of entitlement, and she will step out just to test drive her new look on strange men. Reason number 11 is the absolute poison of social media validation. We live in an era where a married 40-year-old woman can post a picture on the internet and instantly receive hundreds of comments from men all over the world telling her she is a goddess. This completely destroys her grip on reality. It inflates her ego to the size of a blimp. She starts comparing your real, flawed, everyday love to the fake, perfect fantasy world of social media. She sees other women posting pictures of romantic vacations and expensive gifts from their new boyfriends. She gets brainwashed by the screen. She steps out because the digital world has convinced her that there is a billionaire Prince Charming waiting for her, and you are just the roadblock standing in her way. Reason number 12 is the complete loss of respect for the accommodating husband. This is the hardest pill for nice guys to swallow. You thought that by doing the dishes, apologizing when you did nothing wrong, letting her make all the decisions, and avoiding all conflict, you were being the perfect modern husband. But female biology despises a weak man. When you let her walk all over you for 10 years, she stops seeing you as a man. She sees you as an extra child she has to manage. And a woman can never, ever be romantically attracted to a man she pities. When she hits her 30s and 40s, she is exhausted by your weakness. She will absolutely cheat on you with a man who tells her no. She will cheat on you with a man who puts her in her place, because she is desperately starving for masculine authority, and you refuse to provide it. And finally, reason number 13. The empty nest vacuum. For 15 years, her entire identity was built around being a mother. Driving to soccer practice, helping with homework, managing the chaos of kids. But then, the kids grow up. They start driving. They go to college. Suddenly, the house is incredibly quiet. The massive distraction of raising children is completely gone. And for the first time in a decade, she is forced to look directly at you, and directly at herself. If the marriage was only held together by the children, the silence in that empty house becomes deafening. She realizes she has absolutely nothing in common with you anymore. The void in her life is massive, And instead of doing the hard work to reconnect with you, she takes the easy way out. She fills that empty space with the cheap thrill of an illicit affair. You have to understand the timeline of a man's life versus a woman's life. When you are in your 20s, you are building. You have no money, no status, and you are invisible to the world. But if you put your head down and work hard, when you hit your late 30s and 40s, you become the king. You have the resources, the confidence, and the power. Your value goes straight up. A woman's timeline is the exact opposite. Her absolute highest value in the dating market is in her early 20s when her beauty and youth are at their absolute peak. As she hits her late 30s and 40s, that power slowly declines. When a woman cheats in her 40s, it is almost always an act of pure desperation. It is a frantic attempt to grab onto the last fading rays of her youth. She is trying to prove to the world, and to herself, that she is still the prize. But you cannot be the collateral damage of her psychological crisis. When you see these signs, the sudden change in wardrobe, the new single friends, the hidden phone, the sudden picking of completely illogical fights, you must not act like a confused, weak boy. You must act like a king who protects his own castle. You do not sit her down and ask her to explain her feelings. You do not beg her to tell you what is wrong. You do not buy her flowers to try and win her back. You become an absolute ghost. You watch her actions with cold, calculated logic. You gather your proof silently. And when the time comes, you cut the cord with zero hesitation and zero emotion. The greatest revenge a man can ever have against a woman who betrays him in her later years is to simply walk away, hold his head high, and live a massive, successful life without her. Because while she is out there realizing that the dating market for a 40-year-old cheater is a cold, unforgiving nightmare, you will be stepping into the absolute prime of your masculine power. You must protect your peace. You must protect your assets. And you must absolutely protect your dignity. I want you to really think about the men around you. Think about your own past or the past of a close friend. I want you to go down to the comment section right now and answer this very smart question. Be brutally honest, because the younger men reading this need your wisdom to survive. Which one of these 13 reasons did you personally witness destroy a relationship? And what was the absolute first, tiny red flag that everybody ignored until it was way too late? Did she start hanging out with a divorced coworker? Did she suddenly lose weight and buy a new wardrobe? Write it down in the comments right now. Expose the pattern so another brother does not have to walk blindly into the exact same trap. Keep your eyes completely open, trust your cold logic over your warm feelings, and never, ever let a desperate person drag your crown down into the mud. Stay sharp.